Wonderful. Well, thank you everybody for coming. I'm so excited to do this session with my good friend and fellow colleague, Jeanette. What we were planning to do is we're going to start off just introducing ourselves for those of you that don't either know myself or know Jeanette, just so you know who we are. Then I'm going to share with you a little bit of background on feminine masculine energy. And then we thought we would open it up for a discussion so we can, dive into what your thoughts are, what some of your challenges are, and just see where we get to. So we've got a good hour to do this. And what I want to do is just quickly turn it over to Jeanette for the moment to introduce herself and tell us how she got into the dating and relationship industry.
Yes, thank you. And welcome everybody once again. I have been doing this like for 10 years, 12 years-ish. And I have been working as a matchmaker and a dating coach. And I am based in Sweden. So I live in Sweden, but I work international. I started my business because I got separated to the dad of my children. And afterwards, I was a happy single person for 4 years, living my life and get back to who I was really becoming without the dad of my children and searching my real me. But then I was 2 years not happy with being single, and I was on so many online dates and I did not find the right one. And then I was kind of a little bit irritated because I didn't think that the people I was dating were the kind of people that it was telling me they were from the beginning online. So they were taking my time. It was not productive. It was not good. And then I was thinking, why is there not someone who can do the first job, the first interviewing, and then I could have the person afterwards? And there was no business like that in Sweden. So I started that business because that was much more productive. They had done the first thing and the first interview, and then I could take the good stuff, That's why I started with this. And this grew into a big travel for me and journey for me. And now I'm more like the dating coach. So that is how I started it. I was one of the first in Sweden. Now we have a couple of more, but I was one of the first in Sweden to do this. And I love it. I love it. It's just incredible to work with love. Yes.
Cool. It's wonderful to have you here, Jeanette. Thank you so much for joining us and also sharing your wisdom with us. For those of you that don't know me, maybe you came here through another channel. You haven't. I know there's a lot of people from my coaching group in here who know me very well, but some of you are new. And so I just wanted to let you know a little bit about me, similar to Jeanette, and why I help primarily divorced singles, but not exclusively, is I separated from my ex-husband in 2013. We actually finally got divorced in 2021, but that's a whole other webinar to talk about. And in that time, I had 3 relationships. One was a 4-year off and on relationship, and then I had 2 shorter ones. And my turning point came at the end of the 3rd relationship. I was sitting in bed 1 o'clock in the morning the night that relationship ended, and I was just crying, like the tears were just pouring down because I felt so hopeless. I thought I was like the worst dater out in the world, and all these questions. Why can't I find the one? Why am I not good enough? Why do I struggle? All these things. And so in this day and age, I turned to Google asking the question, why am I single again? And I found a webinar similar to this that started me on my journey of self-discovery and learning and studying the science behind dating and relationships. And so it led me also into matchmaking and then later into the coaching, because I realized that there's so much that if people have repeating patterns that we need to work on first in order to change our patterns, change our experience. And so that's how I came to be here. I, like Jeanette, love this space, love working in this industry with amazing people and amazing clients, people just like you who want to upgrade your life, your experience, and your relationships. And so today, that's what we're going to hopefully help you do, is give you some insight into one of our favorite topics in terms of dating and relationships, and that's the idea of feminine and masculine energy. So just before I dive into the presentation, I'd love to know where everybody's calling from. Would you mind just dropping in the chat where you're calling from so we know who we've got on the call with us live? Unfortunately, we don't have anybody in the Facebook group because I'm not streaming, but for those of you on the call, just let me know in the chat where you're calling from. I'm just going to quickly check the Facebook group to see if there's any comments. I think we're good. So where do we got? Germany, Mississauga, Canada, Germany, fantastic. Miami, awesome. London, and Vaud, Switzerland. Naomi, welcome. Great. Sweden, okay. Oh, I had somebody drop off and come back. Great. Okay, so we've got Swedish man living in Switzerland. There we go. Tommy, you're covering both of the countries. For my North American colleagues, I say this because I come from Canada. In North America, we often confuse Switzerland and Sweden. If we've never been to Europe, it was my own confusion too. So this could be quite confusing for some. Okay, so let me dive into just a few slides that I have just to give you a bit of background. Yeah, we're all good. Okay, so just to start off with, when we talk about masculine, feminine energy, I want to be really clear up front. This is not exclusive to gender, okay? Every one of us have both feminine and masculine energy. We do call it feminine and masculine energy for a reason, and that's because men are typically born with more testosterone and therefore typically have more masculine energy as the default. And women, being born with more estrogen, typically have more feminine energy by default. That doesn't mean, though, that it stays that way throughout our lives. We can shift our energy as a result of learned behavior, as a result of what conditioning can do to us. If we are encouraged to develop our masculine energy as women, we will become stronger in our masculine. And the same thing with men. If more feminine energy is encouraged, men can become more feminine. And we see a huge shift in the world, especially with single parent households, you know, where single moms are trying to be moms and dads, or single dads are trying to be both as well, that there's becoming a shift. And so that's the first point, is we all have both, and these can change over our life. Now, when we look at it, we're all on a spectrum. So if you see here, we've got at the bottom here, masculine and feminine energy along a spectrum. And then we see it in negative and positive. Sometimes this is also the positive you might hear being called the divine. This is sort of more the spiritual connection of how this shows up positively. We look at the masculine energy. There we go. I've used the lion to sort of represent this. And what we see in masculine, strong, positive masculine energy, it's protective, it's assertive, it's powerful, it's very action-oriented or future-oriented, and it's about getting outcomes, okay? On the other end, we have the feminine energy, which is much more nurturing, compassionate, sensual, and very receptive. Now, the negative side of this comes down when masculine energy, remember, this is not exclusive to men, women do this too, but the negative side is becoming very aggressive, controlling, possessive, and sometimes even to the point of being abusive, okay, at the very extreme end. And the negative of the feminine energy is becoming fearful, very submissive, subservient, people-pleasing. I use this sort of, you know, the rabbit, this really fearful kind of approach is the negative side of the feminine. Now, when we talk about energy, we often talk about polarity, and polarity is a really important concept because it's polarity that causes sexual desire, okay? It's the difference between the masculine and feminine energies that cause this attraction and desire. And you can think of it in many different ways. And this isn't exclusive to heterosexual couples. We see this in same-sex couples as well, right? One gives and the other receives, for example. One's more dominant and the other one's more submissive. These are very common traits, and it's these differences between these energies that leads to chemistry and sexual attraction, right? So we see on one side, the protective, the assertive very much attracts the nurturing, compassionate, sort of that opposite but very complementary difference in energy. Yeah. Masculine energy tends to be very future focused action. Feminine is very much in the moment. It's very vulnerable and really experiencing things. So when we look at how this plays out in relationships, we get different dynamics. Okay. So when we've got strong polarity of the positive masculine and feminine, what we end up is with a lot of passion, a lot of intimacy, and partners feel very fulfilled. So the more different they are in these energies, the more fulfillment. And this is based on research. And so these couples tend to have a relationship that's based on love and trust. Because they feel very fulfilled, they can have a lot of love and trust. Now, when you don't have the polarity to that extreme, you still have, love and respect and trust, but the passion isn't at that level. I apologize if you can hear the noise. They just started doing construction above me. So people tend to say we're happy-ish, right? We have a good relationship, but maybe we feel more like friends or brothers and sisters. And we can talk later about the friend zone. This is it, okay? When you end up in the friend zone, this is the kind of dynamic you have. If we go to the negative side, this is where we have little or no passion again, but couples tend to be dissatisfied. They're not happy. There's not the passion and the sexuality in the relationship that really differentiates that romantic partnership from any other friendship, okay? And because of this dissatisfaction, there can be a lot of adultery or addictions trying to compensate for these feelings. And then the very extreme, we have a very unhealthy, toxic relationship. And this is where we see very codependent type of relationships, a lot of really dysfunctional behavior, controlling, abusive behavior. And so there's two types of people that we often see struggling with relationships. And these are what we call the masculine energy woman and the feminine energy man. Now, why do they tend to struggle with relationships? It's not because of their dominant energy per se, but they struggle because they have a different expectation of what the relationship should be versus what they experience, okay? So if we take, for example, the masculine energy woman, she's very high achieving, goal-oriented, action-taking, sometimes can be perfectionistic, emasculating, very competitive and in control. Now, she's developed this type of masculine energy because it's been rewarded, right? In the corporate world, for example, being these things is very much rewarded and encouraged. And so she then continues to develop the masculine energy. And this serves her extremely well in the workplace. But when she gets into a romantic relationship with a man who's also got strong masculine energy, they tend to compete. So this is another dynamic where she may feel like she's the best buddy, like they get along, they laugh, but again, there's no sexual tension. And so this is where they tend to compete. And so she has two options, right? She can either date more feminine energy men to get the polarity, or she can learn to reactivate her natural energy in her personal life so that she can attract more masculine energy men. And the same goes for the, somebody wants to come in and I can't access. There we go. There we go. And so the feminine energy man has the same thing, right? He's over here and he's attracting the masculine energy woman, but maybe he desires to be with a really feminine woman who's very vulnerable and very caring and nurturing. And he keeps getting, these very career-driven women that is not his idea of the mate he wants. And so he needs to either date more masculine energy women or again, work on reactivating his strong masculine to attract a more feminine energy woman. So that's the short intro I wanted to give. Now, I'm really happy to open up the discussion. You're welcome to ask questions. If you want to ask a question either via audio or on video, raise your digital hand and I'll come to you. You're also welcome to put a question in the chat and we can answer it that way. Super. Ira, you have a question. You have to unmute yourself so we can hear you. There you go.
Thank you for the opportunity. Sorry, I'm having my lunch now. I just wondering whether we can have the checklist, whether I and my romantic partner has masculine energy and feminine energy. Which one is stronger?
There are actually quizzes you can take that can give you an idea of where your dominant energy stands. And I can post a link after this to one of those quizzes if you want to have a
okay,
look.
thank you.
But then I also think you should recognize that sometimes you are stronger in one energy when it comes to work, and you are stronger in one energy when it comes to really romantic. This is the romantic side. Sometimes we confuse this because we can be, as women today, the society are making everything masculine because that is how society is today. You need to take, to get, and the women get stronger and stronger and stronger in the society. But even though we do not maybe want that romantically, we need to do it in the society. So it's just, it's important to just figure out where you're at romantically also, where you're stronger.
I agree. Very good point.
Yes. Yeah.
Super. So Mendo, you have a question.
Yeah, actually, in terms of my personality, I think I am a bit dominating, goal-oriented, as you said, not physically, but I feel like that. So how I can switch into the other personality, as you said, it's very difficult for me. So I cannot. So I tried sometimes, but it always show up. So whatever I am.
Yeah.
So
Jeanette,
can you
wanna...
give me some ideas?
Yeah, it depends on which side is it, which energy is it that you want to have to grow? Is it the masculine or the feminine side you want
feminine
to?
side. So sometimes I have to be calm and be patience, or maybe yeah. Yes, because I always think, oh, it's very simple. Why it took so long time? It should be fast. I want to see it now. It's like that.
That's typical the masculine. The feminine energy is more the soft one. You can practice this in different, I don't know, Kelly, should we maybe post something how you can practice this afterwards, how you can put out the feminine energy or put out the masculine energy and practice to do that? Because if you're practicing the masculine energy, you need to maybe do stuff that go towards that, and the feminine more to the getting in touch with the senses and getting in touch with the creative side. So this you can really actually practice, and to think that the man wants to know the thinking and the women wants to know the feeling. So you can actually practice this.
And these are great points. So really some simple tips are to get more in touch with your feminine energy. This works for men and women. It's about being in the moment. So how do you get in the moment? So it's doing anything tactile, right? That makes you very present. It can be walking bare feet on the grass. It can be, going out and smelling the flowers. It can be journaling is a great way to get in touch with how you're feeling, and to start journaling is a super way to do that. For women, I also recommend your clothes as an important thing. How you dress can make you feel more feminine and bring out that natural energy in you is a great way to do that. And then vulnerability is super. Vulnerability with opposite gender friends or family, as well as with the same, men, this is always a little bit of the risk, but if you can, share something that's really personal and intimate with a good friend of yours, you're using your feminine energy in that moment. And you get to test how that feels, right? To actually be vulnerable with somebody. So those are some of my favorite tips for helping people. We have a comment here from somebody in the chat. If I understand it correctly, the perfect relationship is the balance between the man's masculine energy with the female. So do you allude to the man and woman being more similar personality to be more compatible, as I do not believe the opposites attract, work in the long term? Okay, yeah, it's a bit of a complex question. So in terms of this idea, opposites attract, I agree. It's actually more similar values that attract people and keep people together for the long term. That's one aspect, versus feminine and masculine energy, which is sort of a different aspect that's kind of overlaid on top of that. There is no ideal. There is no absolutely right and wrong. There's great relationships with masculine energy women and feminine energy men that work brilliantly. What's important is you define for yourself what kind of relationship you envision. If you envision, more that as a woman, the man who's going to be very taking care and protective, then you need to be much more in your feminine to attract that kind of man. But if you envision a relationship where you're going to be the breadwinner and, going out and creating the career, and you want a husband who's maybe going to stay at home and look after the family, then stay in your masculine. There's no reason you need to shift if that fits your vision. Jeanette, you want to?
Yeah, no, I think it could be important to the energy that you are missing out on, the energy that you have less of. Maybe that is good to get a polarity in that one, a dynamic. So if you are having the more masculine energy, I think it's good if you can grow in a little bit in the feminine energy, so that you can have a partner that is teaching you this, are learning you to feel this. So I think really if I have 80-75% masculine energy, maybe I need to combine this with like 20-30% feminine, so I can grow in that too. So I think really the polarity is important to create a successful relationship. So 200 like feminine and 100 masculine, I don't know, that will not work out. So
does that answer your question, Letty? I hope we've given you what you needed there. Are there any other questions? Otherwise, I have a question for Jeanette, because I post, for all of you in my group, I post a daily discussion topic, and we debate different ideas. And one of the questions that gets the most comments is, who pays on a first date?
Yes.
And this goes exactly into this masculine feminine energy. And this has nothing to do with equality and women being able to pay for a date, but it has a lot to do with this. So Jeanette, do you want to?
It's true. And this one is really difficult to answer when you live in Sweden, because Sweden, we are really for equality, and we have lost the gender thing in Sweden, right? So I'm not going into that debate now, but it's like a little bit more different in Sweden. Still, when it comes to gender, I will still say that the man should do this. I will always say that the man should do this on the first date. And I know people don't like it. This is just how I want it to be. Still, if you have the masculine energy and you love the masculine energy as the woman, you are the leader, and you have a feminine man in the energy, maybe you should pay, because then the masculine is versus the feminine, right? So really, it's still not a gender thing.
No.
So now I'm talking against myself, but this is really the masculine energy maybe should do that move, in my opinion.
Exactly. I completely agree with that view. And I think in my group, what I get is a lot of people saying men aren't men today, right? Men don't open doors for me anymore. Men don't pull up my chair. Men don't pay for a date. And a lot of women are very direct in saying, if a man doesn't pay on the first date, I won't date him again. Right? Those women are very clearly looking for strong masculine energy men. And if the men they're dating aren't showing up like that, they're not giving them a second chance. And I think, naturally and biologically, like I said, women tend to be more feminine, men tend to be more masculine. And so there's a larger proportion of women looking for strong masculine energy men and more men looking for feminine energy women. And so that's why the general sort of advice we give is to stick to that, and you will in most cases be able to demonstrate that you can be that person in a relationship. And so I always advise my men on the first dates that they should be paying if they want to attract a feminine energy woman.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'd love to get other people's feedback on this. You know, feel free to raise your hand, share your opinion on this. Obi.
Video, but I think in some cases you could be both. You have both energies. I think I have both energies. I think I have both masculine because in a career, my career, has been very much about leading, and so I think I have that energy. But culturally, I'm Nigerian, so my culture is the women are the women and the men are the men, and so I have that inbred culture within me that, for example, a man should pay for the dates and things like that as much as possible. But I also have the masculine energy from my work. So I think I have both. In that case, then what man should I be going for? Because I think I do believe I have both. I think I'm a very strong woman, but at the same time, I'm very nurturing and caring. So how do I sort of figure out? Because I think I'm hybrid. Sorry.
Definitely. So we all are, and we can have different dominant energy in different situations. Like I mentioned, in your career, you can be more strong in the masculine, but perhaps in your romantic relationship, more strong in the feminine. And ideally, it's like a dance. The more we can learn to dance in these energies, the more actual rich we can create in our relationship. And so that's a great ability if you can, work in both energies. Jeanette, what do you say to that?
No, I agree. But also when you say that you have both energies, that you're a strong woman, I just want to point out that only because you're a strong woman, that does not mean that you necessarily are dominant in the masculine energy. You can still be a strong woman and still you want romantically being in the feminine energy. So you don't mix strongness with masculinity. Today it's a little bit different. So I think if I could guess, I still would say that you maybe have a little bit more dominance to the feminine, but that's just my guess.
So there was a comment in here. I always get my wallet out and offer to pay for my food, and it's up to the man if they want to accept or not. This is another one I hear a lot. How do I manage this, right? Should I be pulling my wallet out and offering? What if the man says, do you want to pay half? Again, your vision and knowing what you want will decide how you deal with this situation. If you feel better by making that sort of gesture to say, I want to pay. What's really important is that receiving and giving. If the man says, no, please let me invite you, that you graciously receive it. I've had so many people come back from dates and say, it got so awkward because he said, let me pay. And I said, no, I want to pay. And he said, no, please let me. And I insisted. And then it was really awkward. That's not a nice thing. If somebody's offering a gift, if you want to be in your feminine, you need to graciously receive it. The other thing is if you're looking for a masculine man and he says, can you pay half without discussion. Do not try and criticize and say, this is not what I accept. I should have more. I gave you my time. Graciously pay the bill and then make a decision for you if you want to see that man again. For many, that would be, a deal breaker for them, and they wouldn't date that guy a second time. But, again, it's what you're looking for in a relationship, and you need to be clear on that. And that's so much of the work I do with clients, is helping them figure out what good looks like so they know what to be looking for and how they feel in a date. And if you want to be taken care of as a woman, or you want to be the caretaker as a man, how do you feel in that connection? Are you able to step into your natural energy? Yeah.
And also, I think, I don't know if you have it as well, but here it is, I can speak for Sweden. It's like a little bit confusion sometimes, because sometimes the masculine energy wants to pay. but don't dare to pay. If it's a man, maybe he does not dare to pay because he's now offending the woman not be able to take care of herself. And this is becoming a huge discussion, and also a confusion with the roles here. And I'm still talking about masculine and feminine energy and not the gender, but there is a huge confusion in this. And I don't know if you have the same, but here it's a really big topic and people don't really know how to deal with this and deal with this.
Yeah, I think it's less, at least in Switzerland and some of the other European countries. I know Scandinavia is really far advanced in this gender discussion.
It is.
Yeah, but, you know, and there was a comment in the chat about, you know, a man doesn't have responsibility to take care of me. You're right, you're just starting to date, but I don't think paying for a meal is necessarily going to the point where he's fully responsible. I believe in the concept, start as you wish to go on. And you want to set the tone, right? And we all know this, how difficult it is to move from a friend zone into a relationship. That's a challenging transition. We can talk about friend zone in a moment. But, you know, if you start out with a different dynamic on that first date, you then have to, it's like moving a big carrier ship in the ocean, right? You have to turn that towards the tide, and that can be challenging in a lot of cases. So that's one of my tips. Wendy has a question.
Yes, thank you. Let me show myself. I have again these problems with my internet. So here I am yesterday with my friends. We are 4 women and 1 man, like that. And, you know, I was thinking, okay, I am a strong, independent woman, but we are all friends, okay? Let the only guy in the group talk to the waiter because we needed napkins and something very simple. Anybody can ask for them. And I told him, oh, why don't you ask that to the waiter? And also same with the bill. Why don't you ask for the bill? So he was like, but you can do it too. I said, well, yes, if we would be one-on-one, maybe because you know me, but here we are 4 women, you're the only man. So maybe it's nice if you do it, you know, but we had this whole discussion. So when is it well to do this or not? And then he said, yeah, well, I can do that when I'm on a date. I will decide what to do. And it's true. He had a date with a girl 2 weeks ago, and he decided what they were going to eat. And I was like, if you do that to me, I would not accept that you decide what I'm going to eat. If I'm hungry, I'm hungry. You don't decide on my food. But this girl decided. She decided that they were only eating the appetizers. That was it. So she said afterwards, because it's a friend of mine as well, she said, I was so hungry afterwards. So here we are in this society in which he's an old-fashioned guy. I mean, he's 52. He comes with his, you know, things that men need to do, but he is like a bit lost in space. And I'm hearing this and I'm like, wow, how do we manage this? Because everybody has a point of view. This girl lets him decide for the food. I would not have done it. But when I asked him, oh, why don't you ask for the bill? He was like, no, you can do it. Just I'm trying not to be too. So you see, it's pretty difficult.
Yeah. What do you think about that, Jeanette? I have
no. My question is, the woman that let him decide. Maybe she liked that. Maybe I don't know if that was something that was attracted to her, but not to you. For you, it's not right, but maybe for her it was. I don't know. But if you don't feel that is right for you, you can absolutely just say that and say, thank you very much. It's very nice of you. I would rather go with the pasta. You know, you are entitled to do that. You can do it like also if you want to give out your feminine energy, you can do this really in a soft way. You don't have to be so harsh. Or if you have, once again, the masculine energy, you can just say, no, that's not how it's going to work. I'm going to decide my own meal, you know? Yes. So this is still your own decision to make. You own your actions, you know?
And I think a lot, if you look back even 2 generations ago, things were simpler for dating, right? We kind of knew what to expect. Men knew what their role was and women knew what their role was, right? With the feminism and becoming equal, we blurred the lines. And so oftentimes, you know, whether it's men or women, we're now unsure, what do we do? And so there was this traditional thing, you know, it was a gentleman to order for the lady. What they forgot is a masculine man would ask the lady first, what would you like to eat? And then he would ask the waiter when the waiter comes and order for her, not sort of in a controlling way necessarily say, you're going to have fish, because I noticed there was a little bit of speck coming into the restaurant, right? I mean, and I think this is where part of what I teach in dating is helping people become more secure in how they present themselves in dating and trying to navigate these gray areas, right? And this is where I think feminine and masculine energy helps us a lot to be able to navigate these spaces. But as Jeanette said, you always have, you know, the opportunity to express your needs and your boundaries and to communicate openly. You don't have to necessarily accept something that goes against what you desire in that moment.
And what about Bill? What's it on him to do that?
The difficult discussion about the bill, you cannot force him to do it. So I think also, as you said before, Kelly, you need to just accept it in the moment, and then you make your decision afterwards, because we cannot affect somebody else. That is his feeling, that is his viewing. So fine, you have your viewing, right? You make your decision afterwards. Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wendy. Okay, there's a couple of questions in the chat. I just wanted to take one just before I come to you, Naomi, because I thought it was a relevant one. I heard yesterday that masculine energy women are more likely to attract shy men. Would you say that this is true?
I think that is true. Yes. If I can speak, you can say your speak, Kelly, but I think that is true. And that is because they feel secure. This is like the safe spot with these women. They get passive with these women and they like it, you know. So I think definitely. And also I think this has a lot to do with attachment style.
Yeah, I would say maybe my word I would use is perhaps passive versus shy, more laid back, more in the receiving mode. But yeah, it could be perceived as shy. So, good question. So Naomi, you're next.
Yeah, excuse me, what about us older women? I mean, I find that a lot of the groups that I belong to, the men are like half my age. And I find it very difficult to associate myself. And, you know, like I have had one guy in one group that I belong to who has asked me out, but he's, you know, I'm 64 now. I don't mind admitting that. And he's like 38. And when I told my friend that he'd asked me out, she said, go for it. And I said, yeah, but, you know, and then somebody else said, oh God, you'll be labeled a cradle snatcher. So what about us older women? I mean, I'm just, you know.
Again, I'm going to let Jeanette, we talked about this actually yesterday, Naomi, so you got my impression, but I'm sure you'd love to hear Jeanette's
No,
take.
I didn't really get, do you mean the age difference, or how do you mean it?
Yeah.
Yes, the age difference.
If it's okay to have an age difference, or how?
Yeah, because the thing is, you see, I find that a lot of these groups that are set up are groups, and a lot of them have younger people in them between the age of sort of 18 and 35 or 40. Whereas for myself, I'm 64, and it's like, okay, you know, oh, sorry, it's a mouse just gone across the floor. Oh dear, sorry, the cat brought one in. And so yeah, it's the age gap. You know, I don't want to be labeled as a cradle snatcher. You know,
but are you searching for a younger man? Is that what you are like? You are more attracted to younger men, or is it
not really?
No,
it's just that because of the groups I've joined, they all seem to have younger people in them, and I mean, I've not been able to find a group that is geared towards older people. I mean, are they out there, or
I think they're out there. I think you just need to get in the right groups and the right online apps, or in the right, if you have some interest, you can join the club, or if you're interested in wine, you can join something that has with wine to do with wine, or just join in like different groups with the same interests. And I think you can find also the same age in that one. If that is the question, I think it's more common for younger people, of course, to be online. And that's just how it is. They are growing up with this. Yes. So I think it's more productive to maybe join groups and interact with groups. And as soon as you start to comment in the group, they will get to know you in the group somehow. So I think that is a good like option to do it towards the online apps.
What do you think though about the differences as it relates to masculine and feminine?
Yes. Yeah, this is also different, because normally it's fine when the woman has older man, that's like a common thing. But when the woman goes to a really much younger man, then we have a problem. I'm not saying it's not right. I can although see some kind of problem in it, in the dynamic somehow. I don't know why it is. Maybe it is like the women are used to the daddy issue somehow, and it's like just more common. But no, I can see a little bit problem when the woman goes younger, and I know people will really not like what I'm saying. I'm still standing by that.
I thought you were very diplomatic. I have even perhaps a more extreme view on that.
Yes, shoot.
And the way I see it, especially with the feminine energy, is when the woman is significantly older, she tends to have, more financial independence. She tends to look at the man and wanting a masculine energy man. She sees this younger man, perhaps even boyish, and she wants to mother him into becoming the man she's looking for, to help grow him up, right? And mothering actually very masculine energy. It's very goal oriented. It has a purpose. It takes action. And this then puts you in your masculine energy by default. And so, a lot of women get attracted to, we're not talking 1 or 2 years. I'm talking, like the 10, 15, 20-year difference, and say, this guy has potential. If I can only, get off his rough edges and create this beautiful diamond out of this boy, he's going to be the perfect partner. But in order to do that, you shift the dynamic into a very strong masculine energy for yourself. And so that's personally why I think that this dynamic doesn't work as easily as the older man and the younger woman. And I think there's a reason.
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
Oh. I mean, I've got a brother, he is married to a woman who is 30 years his junior, and they're as happy as Larry. And yet I had an aunt, she met a younger guy when she was on holiday, and she thought they were happy. He came to the UK, and they got married, and within a year they separated because she said she couldn't put up with his, childishness.
Yeah. My first partner after my separation from my husband was 11 years younger. And when I look back, I cringe now, because I always kept saying to him, what are you going to be when you grow up? And I thought, that doesn't make a man feel very good.
No, but still, of course, there is always some people who manage this. There is no rule in this. There is just no.
Yeah.
So
you're right. You're absolutely right. There's always an exception, but let's not make the exception to the rule.
Exactly. Great. But when it comes to you, I think you should really try the groups. Really go online on groups. Yes, and interact.
Okay.
Thanks for your question. Maureen, what's your question?
It relates to what you were saying earlier, that often people, particularly in careers, will go more to the masculine because it's very valued. I also find it's in personal relationships. I'm a very strong person, very resilient and independent, but I'm also very nurturing and feminine. And I find that it's gotten to the point in personal relationships it's no longer valued, that often I'll start dating someone or I'm in a relationship, and that side of me is considered a weakness rather than something to value. And I end up trying to go against my nature as like a survival mechanism almost.
Yeah.
So it's So I don't know if it's that men have changed, that they no longer even value that. They consider it, oh, I see this nurturing thing. She's done this nice thing for me, and I'm just going to continue to do nice, let her do nice things to me.
Yeah,
for me, and take advantage of this, but I'm not going to necessarily give anything back. So how do you avoid that dynamic?
Thank you for raising this question. This is key, because actually women use this often. I give to the man, I cook for him, I do his washing, I buy him presents, I do all this stuff that I feel is giving. This is masculine energy. This is trying to achieve a goal through this. And as in your feminine energy, you should be waiting for the man to be giving to you so you can receive. And so a lot of times I hear people thinking that this is very nurturing and caring, but it actually comes from the masculine energy. Oh, I think you're on mute again, Maureen. Yeah, didn't catch
I meant even being like feminine and how you dress for a date and all that sort of stuff. That when, like, sometimes I find really early on when you're meeting someone, as soon as they see that side of you, I don't start dating someone and start doing their laundry and cooking for them and stuff. I just mean showing that you're a nurturing feminine person brings out not necessarily the positive masculine, more the negative masculine, like the controlling and that kind of thing.
Okay, I would hazard a guess without knowing more of your story that that's probably more to do with your own attachment style of how you view relationships and men. If you look back at your history, have a look and see if there was a healthy relationship with your father, with males in your family. Oftentimes, women who have a struggle with this don't have necessarily this really strong belief that they can be truly themselves, because they were told when they were younger, you're too loud, you're too needy, you're too whatever. And so we take this belief forward and then we look for evidence to prove what we already believe is often the reality. Yeah. So I don't know if that sparks something in you. Maureen, you're always welcome to reach out to one of us. If you want to have a deeper discussion, we can certainly explore this topic with you or anybody else.
May I just, excuse me, Ken, may I just ask one question? Do you like to do these things? Is it something you enjoy to do for your man? To the nurturing thing? You enjoy it, you like it? Yes. So I think then you should do that. And maybe, I think it's more about also the dance. If you invest a little bit, you get back some investment, right? Maybe not in the same things. Maybe he shows it differently. Can you accept that? And can you see what he's trying to do for you? So you do one dance step and he do one dance step, maybe not in the same area. But if you enjoy this and he enjoys it, maybe he doesn't say thank you every time. Can you live with that? So go back to yourself as well and think, is this something I want to do? And how do I receive back? Because you should not only be the giver. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Lotta, did your question get answered in the midst there? I saw your hand was up.
Yeah. Actually, like quite similar topic, like Maureen, also like caring personality and so on. But yeah, I was just thinking like exploring, and maybe if I understand that correctly, would that be then the tip how to get more feminine in the relationships? It's like just to stop to organize things, right? Just like step back and just not to asking, oh, when we will see each other next time, what we will do next weekend, or having already coming with the tips what to do next weekend, and just like leave the space for the other person, right?
Yeah. So what I think is very good exactly is you're waiting for the man to step into his masculine energy and do that. You can also very feminine say, you know what I'd love to do is I'd love to go to this place and leave it there, and then let him pick up the ball and arrange the date, rather than you saying, let's do this on Saturday. We can go there at 10 and then at 2 o'clock we can have and dinner at 6, and see if he steps into that. And it's a great way to observe how, whether it's a man or a woman, how they show up in the relationship. Same for men. When you organize something and then you've got a woman pushing back going, no, I don't like that restaurant. I want to go here, right? That's also, you know, the masculine energy trying to take control of the situation. Yeah, great. Tommy made a comment here about paying. I prefer to just have a first drink in the beginning, then for sure I pay. I would not go for something fancy and expensive in the first round. If I like the person, want to meet her again, then I'm very happy to take care of the bill. So this is always an important question. What do we do on a first date? There's a bit of a saying, right? Coffee is, how does it go? Coffee is a trial, lunch is an audition, and dinner is the real thing. About how you show up on the first date is a first impression, right? And, you know, sometimes coffee dates don't leave that impression. Again, happy to hear people's thoughts. Jeanette, your thoughts on this?
No, I agree totally. The only thing is I don't want it to get, if you don't have maybe the economy, or maybe you don't have the money to give 5 dinners a week to different women or so, maybe because it's not about the money, it's about the gesture. So if I got an ice cream bought for me, there is a gesture here. He took care of the ice cream. He ordered the ice cream. He asked me what I wanted. So it's also about the money, but of course I share your opinion on the thing that I rather have dinner and wine. It sets a totally different start to the date, absolutely. But still, the money, I don't know, it should not be controlling if it's going to be a good date or not. So it depends, I think, about the economy. Yeah.
Well, I think it also raises a question. If you're having 5 dates a week,
yes.
I did this in my past. If anyone knows my story, I went on close to 100 dates before I met my partner. And I was doing this, you know, constant dating rotation thing. And I look back and I think, now what was it? Okay, I was being super picky. You know, I wasn't setting realistic standards. I was romanticizing this perfect date and expecting men to step into that. And so I think now, if you're dating that frequently, it's important to ask the question, why? Because it's now making dates less important. Dates should be a big thing. You might be meeting your life partner. Like, this is a big deal. And I think when we're dating 5-6 times a week, it's no longer a big deal, right? And that's why coffee is enough, or you know, walk.
That is a good point. That is a good point, though. Yes.
So I would suggest, you know, spend a bit more time having a telephone call or a video chat, get to know somebody and say, I'm only going to meet on a real date, the people who I'm really seriously interested in meeting, rather than just anybody that seems to come across my dating app feed or I match with, so that you put in the effort, you get dressed up. You know, you go home from work a bit early to have a shower and smell good, and not just, you know, leave work, go to the gym and have a date on the way home. I've had people show up in, you know, their workout clothes to dates. And I think, oh my gosh, like how much does that say to the other person? This was important to me, like very little, right?
I think this is the society today also. It's a fast society, and we are used to swipe, you know, it's everything goes so fast. One is coming in, one is coming out. It's like this fast, and we are getting so many options. We can just not choose. We can just not stay. We want confirmation every single day from different persons. We want more and more and more and more. So we have trouble to just pause it and look at quality. And this goes even when we're going to buy a shampoo in the supermarket. There are like 10,000 bottles. We don't know what to choose. And this is like exactly the same in dating. There is one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday. Who cares? One goes, one's coming, right? So I think it's a good point you made there. More quality.
I was reading, I can't remember if it was an article or where I was reading this, but there's some behavioral research, because I love behavioral science and how it relates to dating, to say that we make the best decisions. And I think it's called the Secretary study, where they basically had 100 candidates for a job as secretary, and just to be gender neutral, we'll say half are men and half are women. And the idea is, how do you choose the best secretary from 100? And what they found out is that if you first interviewed 37%, so the first 37 candidates, you then look at who was the best out of those 37, and that's your benchmark. And then you hire the next person who is better than that benchmark. And so we can apply that to dating, right? If you look at the people that you've dated, or you look at the timeline, like especially for women who say, I want to be married to have children, I have a 2-year timeline. Okay, then you can easily take 37% of that and say, okay, these are the next 6 people I date, and I'm going to look for the best there. And that's going to be my benchmark. And then I'm going to date, and I'm going to then commit to the person who's better than that benchmark. And that helps us not lower our standards, but lower our expectations, right? There is no perfect partner out there. A lot of people think that like 95% of happiness in a relationship is who we choose. I think that's probably incorrect. I think actually more of our happiness is not who we choose. We need to look at certain things, but how much we put into that relationship of building a healthy relationship. And so many people think I need to find the perfect partner. And wouldn't you rather spend your life with a great partner and have 30, 40 years rather than the last 2 years of your life with the perfect person? And so
this is also why it's so important to know yourself before dating, your core values, your needs, your love language, who you are, what you are searching for, and what makes you happy and comfort, you know. So I think you really need to start with yourself so you know what you are searching for, looking for. It would be really difficult otherwise.
So we're at the end of the hour. I think this has been a fantastic discussion. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, I mean, we'd love to do some future events like this to share with you. I think it's nice to have also Jeanette's input and see where we align and where we don't align. As you all know, we're both dating coaches. So if you're looking for support in this area and you want to see, you know, what it would be like to work with one of us perhaps resonates better with you, I just want to share with you at the end just our contact details. Here you've got our websites and then one social media link. You can connect with Jeanette on Instagram. That's her platform. That's where she's most active. If you want to connect with me, you can connect with me over Facebook and of course through our websites as well. I'll put these contact details as well below the recording in the group, so you can certainly access those after. And Jeanette, what would you like to say as a last comment before we close the session?
I just want to say that it's really important to not think once again that this has with gender to do. And also for me, I can just give an example. For me, I have a really masculine energy, but through my teaching in this and coaching in this, I really acknowledge that when it comes to a relationship, I need a more masculine man taking out my feminine energy. So even if I am dominant as a woman, I still need a man bringing out my feminine as an energy to be happy. So I think the traveling and the reading and to getting to know yourself in what energy you are most comfortable in and what energy you want to grow, I think that's really important for a successful relationship. And we would both really be glad to help you to do that if you need it.
Great. Well, thank you again for being here, Jeanette. Thank you everybody for participating. It's always great to have such an interactive discussion. I love these. And we will definitely do something again in the future, and we'll see you there. So have a wonderful day wherever you are, or afternoon, and we'll speak again soon.